Folks, it is time to sit up again for another episode of the Soul Sessions. I'm your host, Soul, and with me today, well, as you can see from the picture, he is now the reigning Combat Legacy champion for No Mercy, Kenny Mantra. Welcome to the show, pal.
Thank you very much for having me, brother. Honestly, I've seen the stuff you've been doing in the minute, and it's fantastic. Like, I've seen loads of the other episodes you've done, and it's just absolutely amazing to watch. And just seeing how far you're going is absolutely amazing. So I'm absolutely honored to be on the show.
Oh, mate, come on now. I know it's cold up here, but you're making me blush, and it's like, goddamn, it's getting heat on. Well, thank you very much, my friend. But obviously, Kenny, as I've done with every guest, every guest has a story, and every story has a beginning. Kenny, I want to know, how did your story begin as a wrestling fan?
So I've told this story so many times, and everyone's kind of got their own story. Like, it's normally, I started watching The Rock versus Austin, Taker versus Michaels at WrestleMania. For me, mine was completely different. So I met one of my best friends through primary school. So I think I was only about 10, 11 years old at the time, and I knew nothing about wrestling at all. And kind of then seeing what he liked, he was a big fan of WWE at the time, and I didn't quite see the appeal to it. And obviously, the more me and him bonded, I was like, okay, well, I want to make sure that I like the same stuff as him. And he was like, oh, who's your favorite wrestler? I was like, I don't know, the one with the hat. He's like, well, The Undertaker. I was like, yeah, The Undertaker, sure. And then I just kind of started getting into it slowly. I could see the appeal, like why he started to like it, and I just kind of fell in love with it. But my first wrestling match that I ever watched, I wish I could say it was a really good one. But my first wrestling match I think I ever watched was CM Punk versus, I want to say, Curtis Axel or Titus O'Neil on an episode of Raw. Which is, I tell people that that's my first match I watched, and they're like, "Oh, come on now." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." I much rather go to the next one because the second match I saw was Taker Michaels at WrestleMania 25, by far one of my favorite matches of all time. And yeah, like the whole me starting to get into wrestling, then it was just the more I was watching it, like, because growing up, I didn't have loads of money. So trying to watch like the pay-per-views at the time, which was like, I think it was like 50 quid on demand or whatever it was. And I was like, I haven't got that much money, especially to watch wrestling. So I didn't watch like a wrestling show for ages, until again my best mate invited me over. It's like, we're gonna watch Extreme Rules 2014. And even then I missed like half the show because I was like, everyone was like, oh, we want toasties, can you make us toasties? And I think the main event was Kane versus Daniel Bryan for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I completely missed the match, and they were just all marking out. I was like, oh, they just went through a flaming table. I'm like, what? But no, honestly, like, so that's kind of how I started to get into wrestling, just watching in general. And honestly, is just seeing how a lot's changed from when I first started watching it to now. It's just it's completely different. And no, it makes me feel happy to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. It changes ever going. I mean, see, also you are the Combat Legacy champion, a great Welsh wrestler, but I think maybe the Master of Toasties is going to be on the resume there, my friend. I mean,
Well,
come on.
I do
I
know
got
how
to
to
hit
make.
you now. What is the perfect toasty? I got to know. Hit me.
So I'm going to go for a Gavin and Stacey reference here. I know it's boring, but just plain cheese. If Oliver Sutton's watching right now, he would absolutely, he's going to mess with me and be like, I love you. No, because I'm vegetarian as well. Like, I think the best toasty for me is just got to be plain cheese. I don't think you can go wrong with it, to be honest. I know a lot of people are going to come at me now being like, that's not the best toasty at all. I'm like, well, it is for me.
Well,
But
hey, I mean, come on, guys. He's the champion, so his words are law. I mean, I would say, respect the man's simple and clean toasty, platter. It's fine by me. It's fine by the champ. Give it a try. Maybe your day will be a bit more brightened. But obviously, Kenny, I know you mentioned, that era of WWE, kind of like the 2014s ongoing. Some fans will say like a great product. Some say, well, it was the era to hate Roman Reigns, and that was like the main go-to enemy at the time for fans. Do you think with that WWE product at the time, it was a good, introduction product maybe for new fans?
I'd say so, yeah. Like, I think 2014 was a good year for wrestling. Obviously, we had the uprise of Daniel Bryan, with the whole him finally winning the World Heavyweight Championship, and then unfortunately having to relinquish the belt. And then obviously the whole bringing in kind of the new stars to wrestling. Like obviously at the time you had the Roman Reigns, the Seth Rollins, the Dean Ambrose / John Moxley, like bringing up these new stars. I think this is the perfect time for a wrestling fan to kind of start watching the product, or even if you haven't watched wrestling before, trying to start watching it. Because like I said, you bring up all these new stars, so you don't really have to rely on, well, I've never seen that guy before, I haven't seen that guy before. It's like, well, this guy is no longer being brought up to the main roster. So like you can kind of see, okay, well, he's new, I can get behind him. I think that's why it kind of worked for especially people like Seth Rollins, like because the work he's doing now is phenomenal over the past 10 years. Like again, seeing the way that how he's evolved in the last 10 years, Roman Reigns, how he's evolved in the last 10 years is absolutely incredible. Um, but I don't think there's ever really a wrong time for someone to get into wrestling. I think each year, like especially now in the later years, especially with NXT and bringing up the talent from NXT onto the main roster as well, I think that um, you can kind of support them because again, don't know who these guys are, but then obviously for the longer fans who've been watching NXT, like like for me when Johnny Gargano came up on the main roster, I popped so hard because like Johnny is again one of my favorite wrestlers. Um, and again, for a casual fan or someone who's never watched wrestling before, they can kind of get behind him. Like, well, I've never seen this guy. He's making his debut tonight. So again, I think 2014 was a really good year for wrestling. But I do honestly think that through the years, it just kept getting better and better.
Yeah, absolutely, pal. I mean, all of those call ups from NXT, people like Ricochet, Aleister Black at the time, and so many other great talents. I want to know from yourself, Kenny, though, some call ups have been good, some have not hit the mark. Is there a particular call up from NXT you look at and think, how did they miss the mark with that?
Ooh, that's a really tough question because obviously there's so many as well. I mean, currently, and I know I've just mentioned his name. I think the current one I'd have to say is probably Johnny Gargano. I know they are doing stuff with him with Ciampa now with DIY, but I don't know if it's too late because I feel like that in a way they're taking the time, but the crowd is slowly getting into it. Like they're finding like, okay, DIY they're actually really good. But like obviously when Johnny came to the main roster, he didn't get that much of a pop, which I was quite sad. Like it was still a pop, but it wasn't like I know it's very out of context here, and like, I know it's two different scenarios, but like the Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy come back to WrestleMania, two completely different pops. But like it was kind of like the casual fans, like again who watch NXT knew him, but like the newer fans are like, who's this guy? Um, I'm trying to think if there's any others from the top of my head. I think there's definitely been a few which they've definitely missed the mark on with quite a bit. Um,
May I suggest good old Keith Lee?
Keith Lee was a major one. He could have been a major star. He eventually could have become World Heavyweight Champion. I think that because the stuff Keith Lee was doing as well in WWE is because I haven't seen him much in AEW. So I don't know if he is still doing that kind of stuff, but the stuff he was doing in WWE was just absolutely phenomenal. Like doing stuff that guys like him shouldn't be able to do. Like all these flips, I'm like, how does he manage? I can't even do a proper flip, let alone like how is he managing to do that? Um, I think that's probably the biggest one you've mentioned is probably Keith Lee. Because like I said, he could have had so much potential, and then they turned him into what was it, Bear Claw Keith Lee or something like that. Bearcat, that was it. And I think that's when Vince was in charge, I think it was a massive like difference. Whereas I think if Triple H was in charge, I think like main example, look at Gunter.
Yeah,
He
yeah, God.
he is absolutely killing it right now. Like I was watching, what was I watching the other day? NXT Deadline. And they did like the little superstar promo, and then Gunter's one popped up, and I was like, bloody hell, he's had the belt for over a year. It doesn't feel like it at all. Um, but I like I said, like the way he's kind of gone from, because even in NXT UK, he was dominant then. I didn't see a lot of his stuff on the indie scene, but I've seen like a few matches from him. But seeing like how dominant he was then, and then coming up to the main roster and then losing all this weight, and then somehow even being even more dominant and doing some of the best work he's ever done. Like I don't think he's had a really bad match in the entire time he's had that IC belt. Um, I think Gunter, like you can see the difference how things could have been between like Gunter and Keith Lee.
No, hey, absolutely. I mean, I look at Gunther's match at Mania 39, him, Sheamus, and Drew, probably one of the best matches of that night to whole card. I mean, I was there, and I'll
Yes.
happily say I was sad in defeat with Drew losing, as the Scots always lose. You know, English don't take our money. We're low on beer. No, Sonny, defeat is a natural part of our heritage. But hey, then that's another judgment for another day as well. But obviously, with Johnny Gargano, you mentioned earlier, and Ciampa, you know, do you feel like maybe they've done so much of their story in NXT? You know, Ciampa turning on Johnny, then Johnny turning on Ciampa, then having the big blow off matches and stuff like that. Do you feel like there's maybe not enough story to tell with Ciampa, Gargano, and even DIY?
I wouldn't say so. I think that because when they were in NXT, they didn't do that much as DIY. I think they were, don't quote me on this, I want to say they're a two-time NXT tag champion. There's either one or two. I know they either won it once or twice. Um, and I think they were only together for about a year in NXT. So I think now that they've kind of come back on the main roster, I think there's a lot of potential that they can do. Um, And then when the eventual turn does happen, I think it'd be nice to have the stories flipped. So instead of having Ciampa turn on Gargano, Gargano turn on Ciampa, which I think would be so poetic. And there's so much story you can do with that. Because I think Johnny as a heel is fantastic again. Like again, some of his stuff in NXT with the way, like some of the best stuff that was happening at the time. Um, I think there's so much possibility that they can do with Ciampa and Gargano and DIY. I think it's just planting the seeds slowly. Um, I would love to see him um, have the tag belts on the main roster at some point. I think that would be Judgment Day and DIY. That would be an absolutely amazing match if that does happen. If they still got the belts, the Judgment Day still got the belts at that point. But like, there's so many possibilities that DIY can, like the amount of matches they can have, just alone, like having them against the New Day, having them against um the Viking Raiders. I don't know what they're called now.
That's it.
Yeah, okay, I was right. Uh, but there's so many like possibilities, like, and obviously they're bringing in so many new tag teams in this latest version of WWE, like. And it'd even be nice to see one day to have Roman and Seth on the same page, Shield reunite against DIY. Like that would be for me one of the dream matches. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of possibility they can do with Ciampa, Gargano, and DIY. It's just not giving up on them too soon. Like as long as they push them in the right direction, because like now, like I said earlier, the fans are slowly getting behind DIY. As long as they don't drop the ball with it, I think there's so much story you can tell just from the tag team alone.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And obviously, you know, their rise and stories would obviously come from that black and gold era of NXT. You know, I've had someone who was a part of that era, you know, Bobby Fish on the show. When I asked Bobby, you know, did he feel like who were the main like stables of that era of NXT? You know, obviously he mentioned himself, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Adam Cole as the Undisputed Era. Honestly, probably one of the greatest WWE factions in a long time. Honestly, those guys absolutely killed it and dominated NXT. But the way that the Undisputed Era ended, you know, it ended with Adam Cole turning on Kyle and Roderick, and then Finn Balor as well, who was the champion at that time. And the way things kind of unraveled, you know, maybe some fans were happy with it, some maybe not. Obviously, final match for Adam Cole, you know, him and Kyle O'Reilly in NXT. I wonder for yourself, Kenny, obviously with that group being so historic with NXT Black and Gold, do you think how it, you know, came to end was a good story?
I mean, I if I was to do it, I think I would have done it a little bit different.
Mm,
I think that the whole Adam kind of turning heel by super kicking Balor, I think that was um, a good way to start to plant the seeds. Um, I do like that he did super kick Kyle O'Reilly. I think that is it's the pop again behind it, like this the pure shock factor behind it when he did kick Kyle O'Reilly was good. Um, Another route they could have gone with it is again kind of similar to the WrestleMania 26 feud between Michaels and Taker. Like Shawn was slowly losing his mind, building up to get in that match. Um, and that could have been the whole story with Adam that he wanted his championship back to the point where he's slowly losing his mind week after week. Till eventually that Undisputed Era, like, Adam, you gotta calm down. I'm like, no, no, no. And like one by one they just all like just start leaving.
mm-hmm,
So if they want to go with the route of having Kyle O'Reilly as his last opponent for NXT, um, then I think they could have done it where Kyle stays with Adam, and then it comes to this match against Balor for the NXT Championship. Kyle O'Reilly was trying to talk Adam out of it and cost Adam the match to the point where they have that match. But I think they could have. It would have been nice to see a fatal four-way between the four of them, um,
mm,
even if it was Adam's last match or just at any point that just having that fatal four-way. Because I think they could have had absolute magic in that ring. Um, and I think that would have been one of the matches that would have been talked about for years to come.
mm-hmm,
But I think the way Adam left, it was still good. Because obviously now he's in AEW, and some of the work he's doing with MJF is like, again, I think some of the best work he's done in so long. And it's nice to kind of see him back on the rise.
mm.
Um, but yeah, I think the way he left NXT was nice, but I think I would have liked to see the Fatal Four Way just before he left.
Hey, honestly, man, I mean, that story you got there, and I think if you were to put that as a book, you'd be a New York Times bestseller, man. I mean, I'm invested. I want to buy a hard copy of that and have it first print away just so it gains value, and then I'll resell it on the market because I do like a bit of money. I mean, you can see my spending habits behind me. I'm pretty much in the hole at the moment. But obviously, something that also kind of shocked me with Undisputed Era, none of the members really had that Mania match. I mean, it's a bit of a shame to see. Do you think maybe that four-way could have been easily even a main event for WrestleMania?
1,000%. I think that again, if all of them stayed with the company for years to come, I think that it could have been maybe. I think now that they've got the night one, night two, maybe it could have possibly been the main event for night one.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Vince in charge, I don't think it would have happened, but obviously with Triple H in charge, I think it could have been a possibility because obviously Vince doesn't like small guys and everything. So I'd be screwed. Um, but yeah, I think it would have been a very cool match, especially main event. Um, if say one of them, say Adam, for example, won the World Heavyweight Championship, the Rollins has gone now. I think that could have easily been main event for night one of Mania. Um, and again, I think it would have been the whole thing of it would have been chaos in the best way possible. And they definitely missed the ball on that one. So fingers crossed that it can happen at some point down the line in AEW or TNA or wherever maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I think a lot of fans would honestly love to see that. Obviously, you know, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong are with AEW. Bobby Fish is kind of doing independent stuff. But specifically with AEW and Cole and even Roderick, there's a little storyline going on with the devil in AEW, who's harassing MJF and sending his goons and everything. And a lot of people think it's Adam Cole. I mean, some people even think it's Roderick Strong. Some people even think it's Britt Baker, which is crazy enough in itself. I want to know, Kenny, who do you think should be the devil in AEW?
Oh, see, this is the part where my tag partner, Sammy Philips, is going to be looking at his screen. This is the part where he's going to be looking more than anything, because I hardly watch AEW. So he's going to be like, don't say anything wrong now. He absolutely loves AEW. It's a tough one. I think, obviously, it would have made sense for it to be Adam Cole, because I just think the story they could have had with that, to the eventual turn of Adam turning on MJF. Like, obviously, they've planted the seeds for that for so long. It would also be cool to see, like you said, Roderick Strong, kind of. So they kind of form the Undisputed Era in AEW as well. Sammy was saying all these different people who he'd love to see, but I can't remember any of them from the top of my head. That's the problem with me with AEW, is it's because I don't watch it on the regular basis. Like, I watch it occasionally. Like, I watched All In, because obviously in Wembley. I wasn't there, but I watched it from home. I think I watched the show when MJF won the belt. There are more, so I just can't remember the dates for it, or the show names. I'm trying to think of the perfect person to be. Like, Sammy Phillips would obviously tell me he'd love me to say Sammy Guevara, because he loves him. From the top of my head, I can't. I think that the story based is, I think it should be Adam, but obviously it's kind of a bit hard now that obviously he's broke his foot, or ankle, one of the two. I think the story would benefit from it being Adam, but it would be weird to see where they kind of go with it, because, like I said, because Adam's injured, and obviously this the devil is walking fine, so it'd be weird to see how they would go with it if they kind of go that Adam wasn't actually hurt and he was just trying to get MJF to drop the belts. But yeah, I think story-wise, I think it should be Adam. Either Adam or Roddy. It's got to be one of the two.
I mean, with Roddy and his powerful voice, I'm sure he would easily scream, with an Adam, I was the devil all along, and it's going to be one of those quotable meme moments for the rest of the time, because Roddy's really been killing it right now. God damn. But obviously, coming back to yourself, Kenny, obviously you would get into the squared circle as well. And something that's always fascinated me about wrestling and from wrestlers as well is just not even just the training, but obviously most importantly, like the dietary needs as well. You got to have like a good meal plan sometimes and stuff like that. Obviously, yourself being a vegetarian, I want you to tell me now, you have to prep a meal for the morning, midday, and evening. Which 3 meals would you prep?
Again, it's a tough one. See, I know it's not ideal, but I normally miss breakfast. Just I'm not much of a morning person to begin with. But even then, like, when I wake up, I'm not that hungry, so I normally just because I'm a snacker, really, so I normally just eat snacks. My favorite thing is to go for our crisps. I absolutely love them. But obviously this year I've focused a lot more on my diet. And so at the minute I'm doing a calorie counting diet. So like the main things I'd eat in the morning would be crisps, and obviously the low calorie crisps. There's so many out there. There's Wotsits, there's Quavers, there's Pombes, Skips, puffed hula hoops. So like if I got one of them by me, I'll just dig into a pack of them. And like I said, they're only about like 90 calories per packet for me, which I think is absolutely banging. Midday, I'd probably have to prep spaghetti with light cheese and corn pieces, chicken pieces, because it's got a bit of protein in there for me. Spaghetti is quite low in calories anyway, and then light cheese is the lighter option for the calories. This is when it gets hard now. It's the last meal of the day because it's just whatever I fancy on the day. Because if I need more protein in me, then I'll see what I can get, because especially being veggie is quite difficult, because I'm a fuss eater as well, to get quite a bit of protein. Like I think one of the most highest protein vegetarian meals is the mince, but I cannot stand the mince for the life of me.
Ugh.
But yeah, so the last meal, I can't really answer it, because like it changes so often, because it depends what I'd be like on the day. If I need more protein in me, or if I just need something more calories in me, then I'll just see like how I'm looking for the day. Like if I'm taking enough protein in, then I'll base the meal more around protein. Whereas if I haven't got enough calories in for the day, I'll base it more around calories. Um, but yeah, like it completely changes like every single night, because I gotta just look back on the day and be like, right, okay, what have I got to do? Especially like to bulk up and then still lose weight at the same time. Um, but yeah, I could see it for hours and just go on about calorie deficit diets. Because I absolutely love doing them, which is a weird thing. Right, I call myself and I hope no one ever repeats this back to me, is I call myself Mr. Calorie Deficit, because I've done this diet so many times. So like whenever my friends are like, "Oh, I didn't want to lose weight," it's like, "Okay, here's all the information for you." I know this has gone completely off the question, but yeah, so yeah, I don't think I can really answer for the evening what I would have for the last meal of the day, because like I said, it would just depend on um how much I've ate in the day, how much protein I've intake for the day, like how many calories, and just off with that, really.
Hey, fair dues, Kenny. I mean, thank God you didn't say, because I was getting really hungry there. I was going to just cancel this interview and run to my kitchen and grab whatever was in the cupboards. But you know what? I'm able to stabilize right now. I'm good, so we can carry on. The stomach is no rumbling. Good call there. But obviously, I know as well, Kenny, besides being obviously the Combat Legacy champion, you won an award in 2019 for the RWS Wrestler of the Year. And congratulations for that. What was the surroundings going in with that award?
So 2019 was really my first year, like, of wrestling. Like, obviously I was training in 2018, but 2019 wasn't. It was really the time that I stepped into the squared circle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like kind of coming out of 2019, then started 2020, and then being um told that I got this award from RWS, it was just so special to me. Like if you look at the match site, because before we wrestled, we got the awards, and I wrestled Mikey Fine. So he gave us these awards like with the paper, and then it's just hanging in my wall. Obviously I'm not home at the minute, but in my bedroom, it's literally just hanging on the wall. With all like I got this whole like collage of like memorable moments, which means a lot to me with wrestling. I'm gonna get a picture with me in the belt up there soon as well. But like
Good.
for the time, it was so special to me, because I've never really experienced anything like this. Obviously, I didn't win a belt that year, and then obviously just being presented with this award for what was it again? The best newcomer of the year, was it?
Yeah, Wrestler of the Year 2019. Aye.
Wrestler of the year. Oh, I thought it was newcomer of the year. Um, even better then. But yeah, honestly, it was so special for me, because like I said, at that time I didn't really wasn't getting where I'd want to be. So the fact that they kind of gave me this award, it was like, okay, this is definitely something I want to do for a while now, especially if this is like the payoff I get for it.
Mhm.
Um, but no, it's just so special. Like I think even the little moments of wrestling is just so special to me. Um, yeah, there's so much I can talk about with moments, like especially with this belt alone. Um, but yeah, it's just the little things which matter to me the most with wrestling.
Like, absolutely, mate. You got to take the memories and cherish them as well. Because I obviously know, I've had many from the Welsh team as well. Bevan of No Mercy, Aluna, James Ellis, Tilly Rose, Shane Hooker. I could go on for many days, because they've all been great guests, including yourself as well. This episode has been banging. But the Welsh scene, I feel like, is just so homely. And I've described that to many others. When stepping into it and doing places like No Mercy, Carnage, maybe even Attack and New Wave, seeing all these other places, what does it mean to you, Kenny, just to have that opportunity? You could go anywhere you want to wrestle.
I think Brendan White has put it into so many words, the best words possible, saying that the Welsh scene is so hot right now, and there's honestly some of the best wrestling around. Like, you've got so many newcomers coming out of Wales alone. Like you mentioned, you got your Shane Hookers, you got your Leon Cage, Alex Vaughan's, Sammy Philips. There's so many names I can mention. Like, obviously the man I beat for this, James Ellis. Like, I think all these different new Welsh wrestlers coming out is just absolutely phenomenal. The Welsh wrestling scene hasn't been any better than it is now. I think what the best part about it is that even when we're backstage, like, everyone is so welcoming to each other. I mentioned this on another interview a while ago, that everyone is just so welcoming, and it's just, you don't get that from a lot of places. So that the fact that you can go into any locker room, everyone's like, "Oh, how you doing? Like, how's your day been?" Just stuff like that. It's just absolutely incredible. And like I said, the talent which is coming out of Wales alone, coming out of No Mercy, New Wave, like, there's so many, just, which absolutely blows my mind. Like, the Welsh team is on fire right now. And then just seeing, like, how it's going to progress further and further, like, for me, that it's just something special. I'm glad that I could be a part of it, and just, even if it's in the smallest way possible, that I could just say that I'm in this Welsh scene right now, because I honestly would say it is, in UK wrestling as well, is some of the best wrestling going around. And a lot of the guys who you are seeing, like I said, some of the names I mentioned, there's so many more I can mention, but I'd literally be here for hours on end. But honestly, like, so seeing where they're going to go to as well is going to be absolutely incredible. And you never know where people might end up. And like I said, the Welsh scene is just absolutely incredible right now. And honestly, if you're not watching it, you need to get onto it, because it's, like I said, it's just absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, you may see people like Wild Bourne, it was NXT UK. Subculture have done stuff for Impact as well. Like, Welsh wrestlers are everywhere in every aspect of the wrestling industry. And I know, obviously, going back home as well, I believe, was your first title the Carnage Outbreak Championship?
So that was my third. That was my third championship, I think. Yeah, I think it was my third. So the first belt I won was the RWS West Country Championship. I won that back in 2020. I then won the Slam Down Tracks Championship in August 2021. I then won the Carnage Outbreak Championship in April 2022. I missed one, but it's the KPW Championship. And then that one, then the Carnage belt, and then obviously the No Mercy Combat Legacy Championship.
Bingo. Like, good record all around as well. And I know I want to talk about No Mercy. You know, Kenny, how would you initially introduce first to No Mercy Wrestling?
What was that? Sorry?
How would you introduce to No Mercy to begin with?
Oh, so when I've been wrestling since 2018, and the first school which I went to was a school called Knockout Pro Wrestling. It was the most local school to me at the time, and obviously, again, like I said, when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of money. So I went to a session before, because I didn't really think this wrestling thing was going to be for me. Like everyone else, I started out doing backyard wrestling with my mates. And I was like, you know what, I'll do a session and then see if I can bring any of that to the backyard wrestling stuff. So I started out with KPWA, did a session, and I fell in love instantly. And then obviously coming into COVID, then unfortunately the school shut down during lockdown. And then coming out of lockdown, we were kind of like, right, well, we haven't got a wrestling school. I don't think Dragon Pro was still going at the time. Obviously, New Wave didn't exist. So we were kind of like, right, well, where do we go? Like, we still want to keep wrestling, but there's no schools open at the minute. And then we found No Mercy. And at the time, they were only doing the open ring sessions. So I booked a session down there with a few the wrestling boys. We went down there, and that's when I met Bev. me and Bevan met before the Slam Master Show.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met him the second time, I was like, you are not the same person I met the first time. Like, honestly, the first time he had all this long hair. And then I met him the second time, he was just completely bald. I was like, who are you? But yeah, like the moment I stepped into No Mercy, like Bevan was so friendly. And that's how I started off. I kept doing the open ring sessions. And to eventually where this year I started training down there again. With head coach Kelly Six. Absolutely phenomenal. Some of the stuff he's been teaching is incredible. And I think that, especially with Kelly, that he takes it slow, as some people say sometimes, which is needed, like just to kind of catch your breath, like, right, let's take a back step and just see where we are right now. But the way that Kelly has changed the No Mercy training sessions is absolutely incredible. I've never felt so comfortable in my life being in a training session. But yeah, like honestly, for me, No Mercy is just so special. Like especially with Bev and Ollie, and again Kelly, that they see so much potential in me when I don't think a lot of people do. So they definitely drive me to make myself want to be better. Like at the end of last year, I was actually thinking about hanging the boots up this year, which not a lot of people knew. So this is actually like the first time a lot of people are going to hear about it. But last year, I was actually thinking of stopping altogether. Um, and then I was like, right, well, I'm going to give myself a goal. And it wasn't, it was only because of No Mercy with Bev, Ollie, and Kelly that I actually reached the start of the goals which I wanted to get to. And for that, I can never be thankful enough because they have done so much for me for my wrestling career. Like, obviously, being the No Mercy Combat Legacy champion as well. Like, the opportunities I've had alone just from No Mercy. Like, I got to wrestle Mike Bird, huge wrestling legends on the Welsh scene. I got to wrestle Jay Joshua, Elijah. Like, just some of my favorite matches from No Mercy. The Shane Hooker match, which people are still telling me was one of the best matches that they've seen at No Mercy. Like, the way that No Mercy has paved the road for me is absolutely incredible, and I can never be thankful enough for them because I love the guys to bits, and I'm just so thankful that I found No Mercy back when code was sort of thing. Because otherwise, I don't think any man would be sat in front of you right now.
Wow, I mean, I think it just really shows, your local indies are important because not only do they build the big stars you see on the big stage, but they just give opportunities for wrestlers like yourself, Kenny, and hey, that opportunity is paid out. Do you feel like maybe the hardcore wrestling fans who are very opinionated on the internet, do you feel like they really need to look less at the bigger picture and really support the local indies a bit more?
I'd say so, because like the way that some of the wrestlers are coming out just from the small indie shows as well. Like, again, one person absolutely killing it at the minute is Leon Cage. And the way he started out and he was building himself to the point where he's on Pro Wrestling Chaos, he's on Attack, like, and he started out from these small shows. And like some of the other guys, like, you never know who you're really going to witness become a star until later. James Ellis is a perfect example for it. He started in a school in Port Talbot, and he was only doing that one show. And then I don't know how he did it. I think it was after lockdown, he came back, and he is by far one of the biggest, like, Welsh stars in the minute. Like, he is so hot right now. It just goes to show, like, by seeing your local show, you never know who you're going to see in the future, like, actually make it. Because there's so many guys on the Welsh team who I can definitely say that they're definitely going to go the full mile to get into AEW and potentially one day the WWE or even TNA. There's so many possibilities, and it all starts from these local indie shows. So I honestly think it is the best time to go see these smaller shows for the simple fact of you never know who you're going to see, where they're going to go in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, even if you get maybe a wee autograph or a wee photo or something, you could keep that. And when they are winning big on WrestleMania, that's when you cash in the old
1000%, yeah.
401k. I'm just saying. But before I get into your win of the Combat Legacy Championship and your whole feud with James Ellis, I want to talk about one match in particular at Sweep the Leg. Yourself, Adam Carter, and Kelly Six in a freeway dance. Now, I've always talked about like the ring psychology. You know, I've had it for tag matches and I've had it for single matches, from, you know, bad guys to good guys to monstrous heels to the good old baby face. But I've never had it in a multi-man match. So I wanted to know, Kenny, explain the ring psychology of these kind of freeway dances to me.
Oh, that's tough. Like, especially with multi-man matches, they are. Every time I see the person I'm in this multi-man match with, they kind of walk up to me and they go, I hate this. Just because they are sometimes, like, if it's not done right, they are an absolute pain to try and what's the word for it? To try and, like, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. But the old ring psychology for it is trying to get one person out the ring and then make it a one-on-one match occasionally, just because it is a little bit easier to deal with the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
At least at that point, there's not loads happening in the ring. I think especially with the triple threat that we had, me, Adam, and Kelly, uh, um, it was definitely that we saw bigger guy, he needs to get out, and then come in and then dominate us. Um, I think the whole triple threat, because at the start I really did start to hate them, but then later on I started enjoying them a bit more. Again, like the triple threat I had with James Ellis and Mike Bird, up there for one of my favorite matches of all time. And you can just see, like, it's always kind of, okay, someone's at the ring, okay, but now he's back in the ring, okay, but now someone else at the ring. It's just kind of that. If you can make it easier by making it singles, and I'm not saying everybody does it, but it's just kind of the way that I've seen it with wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of make it a singles. It is easier to try and do it instead of having three men at once and everyone kind of like running around as like, what's going on? Because at least then the fans as well, they kind of lose a bit of interest in it. Yeah, I say that's probably the best way. It depends from wrestler to wrestler. Like, you can ask so many people and they kind of be like, oh, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. And some people would prefer to have all three men in the ring at the same time. And that is a way I'd love to learn as well. But yeah, I say that's probably, it depends from wrestler to wrestler, but that's just the way that I've kind of gone through it with the wrestling scene.
Well, hey, fair dues. And folks, that's been your learning lesson of the day with Kenny Mantra. Very insightful. I'll take that down on the notes. Now, obviously, we've got to talk about you and James Ellis, because you and James Ellis had a bit of a trilogy, you know, first a freeway dance, then a singles match, and then finally at the good, the bad, and the badass, it was for the title. I want you to give me your opinions, Kenny, on this trilogy. And when you look back, maybe in 5 years on this trilogy, do you think it's going to be an integral part of your career?
It's got to be. Like, the three matches that me and Ellis had, it's made me realize so much about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to the point, I don't think he realized how much those matches meant to me. Even before that, I won the belt. Like, they were something which I desperately needed at the time. Because the thing is with me in wrestling is it's kind of a love-hate story. That one minute it'll be like I'm on top of the world. And again, I talked about this on another show, that I'll have my highs, but then I'll have my downs. And when I hit my downs, they are the lowest I can possibly go. Like, I suffer with mental health. Like, I know loads of people do. And especially with the wrestling scene, is so important to make sure that you take in the little moments, because otherwise you just eat you up alive. And I've been there so many times, especially this year, where I've been the lowest of the lows. I've hit rock bottom so many times with wrestling, just because I've had a really bad match, or I could have done better, or I've done this, I've done that. And I think like the minute that you start taking even the smallest achievement, it makes wrestling so much more enjoyable.
Mhm.
And it definitely, especially with mental health, it lifts your spirits up so quick. But those 3 matches, like I said, they meant so much to me. The fact that, like I said, the fact I got to wrestle Mike Bird, absolutely incredible. Again, me and Ellis, I think at that point hadn't wrestled for like well over a year, so I was really excited to get back in the ring with him, especially seeing how much he's changed in the last year. And then obviously we had the singles match, because I think all of them were for the belts, but the singles match we had then was just me with him one-on-one. First time doing an 18+ show, so it was weird to get some swears out. Again, that match meant loads to me. Unfortunately, I was kind of battling on with an injury at that point, so my knee kind of gave out in a training session. So I was kind of being a bit careful with it, and then near the end of the match, I did kind of tweak it at the end. And then obviously the last match where the no DQ when I won this belt. Honestly, I think that is up there for one of the best moments in my career. Like when me and Shane Hooker had that Iron Cobra tournament final, that was again one of those memories which for me is going to live on. And I truly felt that okay, I belong here. And when I won this belt, like I'm not one to show my emotions out on the stage, because even when me and Shane had that match, like I was completely fine, got backstage, so all of a sudden he gave me a hug and I just started bawling my eyes out. But then when it came to the third match with Ellis, as soon as the 3 count, you can see in the video, like straight away, my eyes just start tearing up. And it was such a special moment, especially in front of 200 people cheering me on. And literally, as soon as I'm about to go back through that curtain, I didn't even, I was just going to go straight back, about to walk through, and all I hear is "You deserve it." I just turn, and you can just see I'm just sobbing. For me, it's such a special moment. And me and Ellis joke about all the time about having another match, because obviously we wrestled so many times this year alone. But honestly, I don't ever think he's going to know how much these 3 matches meant to me. And I know that his ways are a bit yikes as a heel and everything, but honestly, those matches were just so much to me. And looking at this in 5 years' time, I'm going to look back and be like, right, that was, and hopefully it still is one of the highlights of my career. And the fact I get to hold this belt, the fact I've won this belt, it is such an honor just to call myself the Combat Legacy Champion. And yeah, these matches, I've rambled on a bit now, but these matches, they've just meant so much to me over the however many months we've been wrestling for. And I can't thank everyone who has been involved enough for it.
Hey man, honestly, take it with pride, my friend, because you know this match, the third match of the good, bad, and the badass, had the press conference and everything, like had a really big high feud. I mean, look, promo packages down the line is going to have Limp Bizkit's My Way on it, just to emphasize how badass this was. And you can see as well, Kenny, from the crowd reactions. I've seen highlights of Instagram from people tagging and all that, and like the crowd are behind you, man. They truly love you, and I think I'll say it myself, my friend. I think you will be an excellent Combat Legacy champion. I mean, James, I know you've been on the show before. I hope you're not watching, but look, I'm trying to be neutral. I'm no trying to be divisive right now. I'm going to try and stay my composure. But I do want to propose 2 questions to yourself as well, Kenny, because I've had Bevan and Ellis on quite recently, and I've mentioned you in your title win to them. So I want to propose what they said. I had Bevan on first, and Bevan said he feels like it's going to be challenging to not being the inaugural champion, which Ellis was, but to be the one to continue the reign. So I want to know your thoughts on, you're continuing the legacy of this title. Do you feel like a lot of pressure on now, or do you feel like I'm going to take the ball and go with it?
I don't think there's much pressure until the actual first match comes, at the minute, I'm just kind of, I'm just going with it at the minute. Like I said, I'm happy to be the Combat Legacy champion, and I'll wear the title with as much pride and respect as I can. The fact that I wasn't the first man to win this, it doesn't bother me. I just knew for a fact that this was something that I needed. And I don't know what's next for the Combat Legacy Championship. I don't know what the path is going to be for it. I mean, Ellis had the belt for 400 plus days. He wrestled so many different people. Like, again, he wrestled Mike Beard, he wrestled Joseph Connors, Danny Jones. There's so many guys who he wrestled for this belt. And I just hope that I can kind of continue that. But at the same time, bringing this championship out as an opportunity for other people, because that's what I needed to get this championship, was just an opportunity. And I kind of want to bring that out, that this championship is not just for the big stars or whatever, it is for everyone. And I want it to be a huge opportunity for people, the newcoming people. And again, I'll wrestle anyone as the champion. I'll do whatever I got to keep this belt in a respectful way. And I think that however long I've got this belt for, it's not leaving my shoulder anytime soon, I'll tell you that. But however long I've got this championship for, it's gonna be wild. The run I'm gonna have with this belt is, it's gonna mean so much to me every single day. The more and more it goes on and on, but I can't tell you what's next for her. All I can tell you is that I'm happy to be the champion, and I'm looking forward to whoever I wrestle for this championship.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll pretty much see the Kenny Mandra Open Challenge of 2024. I mean, hey, it might be awesome. It could be an absolute spectacular. But obviously, Ellis was on, and I talked to him about the loss. I mean, he really wanted to make the Combat Legacy champion the European Combat Legacy championship. He wanted to take that thing to Europe and make it all European. So I want to know, Kenny, do you maybe want to rub salt, good old rock salt in the wound, and you make it the European sort of name style, or you got something else in mind, pal?
Oh, that would be a good way just to kind of to get back in him, really. Like we had this promo, we did a sit down interview, and he would say that I'd be saying that he was taking out of the belt, and yeah, like I didn't think that he could take this to Europe, whereas I'm not just going to take it to Europe, I'm going to take it worldwide. But that would be the dream, getting this belt, getting as many eyes on this belt as possible. If I could take it to Europe, if I can take it wherever, like, just to get more eyes on this championship, to get more eyes on No Mercy, like, that would be an absolute dream. So who knows? I know that next year for me there is some plans, so only time can tell.
Hey, fair dues indeed. And obviously, like Devin, if you're watching this, mate, I've told you multiple times, I want a replica of that belt. I want it for my collection. I've had 2 champions now on it. And I look, Kenny, if you sign that as well, I think I would be taking pride and joy with that. Look, Devin, look, mate, I'll trade the white IC for it. I'm a businessman. I'll do a trade. I will happily.
Devin does like his belts as well. He's got the Winged Eagle belt in the No Mercy dojo in his office. So he does like his belts.
See, Devin, you can have the white siege on your collection. You're not the TNT or the AW. Look, they are precious to me, and they took my wallet chunks out of it. So some things need to stay here in the studio. But look, white IC, it's available. I mean, come on, Kenny, you think that would look great in the dojo?
I 1,000%. The white IC belt is a lovely belt.
See,
so
exactly.
We do need a championship for the battle rolls. We do, so that could be the battle rolls championship.
I'll sneakily sign the back of it so I'm a part of history, just to know my presence is there. Like, Combat Legacy Championship, I want one. I would love to see one. You know, Kenny, it's knowing that maybe replicas could be coming from No Mercy, and knowing like you're representing that, would that kind of be like another like a check mark in your history book?
1,000%. I mean, that I think it's everyone's kind of dream. Like, as soon as they see like WWE, to be like, oh, I want to be like them. And especially like they've got the action figures, they've got all the replica belts. I mean that as long as I hold the championship, anything I do with it is going to be special. And if replicas were ever to be a thing for No Mercy, and the fact that I get to represent the No Mercy promotion, like just from someone owning the belt, and like maybe one day you could pretend to be Kenny Mantra, but but I think no, it'd be so special to me, the fact that if replicas were ever to come out and people would buy them, and the fact that I get to say that, well, I'm the champion, the championship which they've just bought, I'm the man holding the real deal for it. And honestly, it is such a special moment for me that I don't think I can ever predict that this was ever going to happen to me. The whole wrestling journey I've been going on is just, the last year has been incredible. And like going into next year, I'm getting emotional from saying it. But yeah, going into next year, like I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen. Like I want to expand as much as I can. I want to wrestle everywhere. And like this year alone, it's been a challenge, but yeah, like it has been some of the best wrestling and some of the worst wrestling I've done. Honestly, like I said, that this belt was the topping on the cake for me. Like it was so special for me, and I can never think anyone enough who was a part of it. I'm just so happy I get to be where I am right now. It is such an honor just to be here. Like I didn't think I would this time last year that I would be here alone. It's just absolutely incredible. And like I said in my backstage interview with John, is I'm on top of the world, baby.
And Sin, maybe we could see you on the No Mercy website, the belt around in a Santa hat, Christmas sale, 20% off replicas. I mean, come on now. That
would be cool. I got my own Santa as well, so I get all the promos pictures taken for it.
Right, come on, everyone. Flood Bevan's emails. We need this on pronto. This has to be the main thing right now. Come on now. I'm just wanting things, right? I want to spend my money, my good hard-earned money through the PayPal, because PayPal is the best. When it comes to Ticketmaster, that's a whole other argument for another day, because Ticketmaster is the true enemy of all wrestling fans. But, Kenny, we are coming to the end of our time, my friend. So I'm going to propose two final questions. Let's say WWE come over next year for Clash of the Castle 2, back in the Principality, and they want a Welsh representation. They come to you and they say, Kenny, we want you on the pre-show defending your Combat Legacy Championship in a freeway dance against two other Welsh wrestlers. Kenny, who would you want those two other Welsh wrestlers to be on your stage in the WWE?
Oh, no. That is such a tough question because I like everyone.
I'm a hard host. I'm sorry.
It's got to be the hardest question you've asked me, to be honest. Just because, like I said earlier, the Welsh scene is absolutely on fire right now.
You know what, Kenny? I'm gonna pull a creative. I'm gonna pull a Vince. I'm scrapping it. I'm building a new question. Still Principality.
So if I had to be completely honest with it, if I had to be completely honest, it would have to be James Ellis by a mile. And it would have to be it's between two, and I'm really stuck between the two. I'm going to say the first one that popped into my head. It's got to be Shane Hooker.
Ooh.
James Ellis and Shane Hooker. I think that the way that, because I've been in the ring with both of them as well, having all three of us in the ring at once, that would be absolutely chaos. Like you got all the different dynamics, like all the different wrestling styles. I think that would be one for the history books. That's such a hard question to answer because, like I said, I can go back and talk about the Welsh scene, but there's so many people who deserves an opportunity like that, and you work so hard, and they're just amazing. Again, I can't say we're not enough, but the ones I mentioned,
You know, Kenny, I'll throw another question out there. Let's say it's Clash of the Castle 2, Principality, your Combat Legacy Champions on the line in a 6-way ladder match.
See, that makes it a little bit easier.
I'll be kind. I'm kind. I know I'm Scottish and we're all angry in our souls, but you know what I mean, kind.
So, you know what? I'll put in the two people who I mentioned last time. So Shane Hooker and James Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
Leon Cage is definitely got to be in there.
Mm-hmm. So obviously yourself included. So there's 2 spaces left.
Oh.
Ooh.
It is tough.
Think about it. You got people like Wild Boar, Mark Andrews, Flash Morgan Webster.
You know what? Because you mentioned his, I didn't even think about Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews has got to be in there because he is by far my dream opponent for wrestling. And I haven't shut up about it. I've said to everyone, I think I've even said to Mark himself, so I want to wrestle you so bad. He's like, okay. So, but yeah, Mark would be an absolutely incredible one to put in there. Like I said, I want to wrestle him so bad, and hopefully I get to one day. Last spot. Oh, do I be nice to my tag partner? Sammy, if you're watching this, mate, sorry, you get your own booking. I'd probably have to say Flash Morgan Webster would be a cool one as well.
Wow. So 2 members of Subculture, you know, and you know, James Ellis, Shane Hooker. Oh god, damn, that's a hell of a pre-show kickoff.
There's a lot in there, and I think that there's so many other names I wanted to say as well, but it's just, where do you begin with it? Like I said, the world scene is just so hot. You got so many upcoming talents. You got some of the greats like Mark Andrews, Wild Boar, Flash Morgan Webster, Danny Luna. You've got so many, and it's hard to pick only 5 of them at once.
So many. But you know what? I'm going to throw another question because my mind's racing right now. Say you come back after that match and you've retained it, and Triple H goes, "Hey, who's that guy?" And Sammy's just there waving with a Kenny Matra flag. He's like, "Yeah, go tag team partner." And he says, "You know what? I want to put him in a match. I like him. Who would you put his opponent as in the WWE against him?"
So that his opponent would be in the WWE?
Yeah. You can pick anybody. You give him someone like Bronson Reed, Braun Strowman, just to see him crap himself and be like, "Oh shit."
So first off, it does sound like Sammy to be stood in the corner with a flag on, yay! Like you can see like half the photos of the last VCW show we did. I just beat Leon Cage in the match, and then this is a photo of Sammy just come out after he's lost his match, and he just gives me like, yay, come on. So it does sound like a very Sammy thing to do. He's gonna kill me later. But yeah, I think that I'll be quite nice to Sammy because again, I think Sammy is very slept on. He's very underrated. He has got a long way to go, and I have said this again that next year he is going to be. Like, it's scary how good he is now, but like with a bit more work, he is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I've said this straight to him that he's going to be completely something else if he puts his mind to it. Again, I'm rambling. I just wanted to praise Sammy as much as I could. I'd be nice to him though in the WWE. Like a match I really want to see is him versus Seth Rollins, because Seth for me, he's one of my favorites. It'd either be Seth Rollins or AJ Styles because they are the 2 favorites of mine. Like they paved the road for Kenny Mantra to begin with, so seeing him again, one of those 2, that would be absolutely incredible. But yeah, I'll be nice to him. I think that would be a killer match, especially because the stuff Sammy can do as well. Seeing how you would do that against like Rollins or AJ, that would be incredible.
Hey, that would be exceptional. I'm sure you would come out with your own Sammy flag and be sitting in the corner like, yay.
I know. I don't like it that much. I'm joking, Sammy. I love you. I love you. Again, he's going to mess me being like, why did you say this about me? I thought we were tag partners.
I mean, maybe the catering's amazing. Maybe they have some nice Scotch eggs and a steak and all that. He's got his focus. But obviously, Kenny, this is the true final question. No DLC, no paywall. Viewers, don't worry. I'm not that harsh. Say someone in the future, maybe at the end of 2024, an American wrestler comes over and they're like, oh, I wanna go to a scene to learn. You know, I could go to England, I could go to Scotland or Northern Ireland, but this Welsh scene looks really appealing for me to learn. Kenny, how would you finally convince that American wrestler that the Welsh scene is maybe one of the best places to learn?
All I'd have to say to him is that just see some of the stuff which we're doing over here. Like, again, I can't praise people enough, but the stuff that everyone is doing, like, that's just, again, it's just, it shows the dedication, the hard work that we put in, especially here in Wales as well. Like, it is so hard to put into words like how brilliant the Welsh scene is. But like, if someone was to come over from the States and then they'd be like, okay, I want to train here, I just say, just look at the Welsh wrestling scene. Just look at the way we wrestle. Like, again, I'll praise people enough. Leon Cage, Shane Hooker, Ellis, Elijah, Brendan White, like, just the stuff that they're doing alone. Like, that is probably the best way I can see it. Just like, look at how these guys are doing, like how they wrestle, and that's all the hard work that they put into. And I think that it's just obviously picking the right training school as well, which is best for you. Like, but even then, just don't train at one place, train everywhere you can. But yeah, I honestly think the best way to show someone, to encourage them to get into the Welsh wrestling scene, is just by watching the Welsh wrestling scene in general, because it is, again, phenomenal, and I can never praise it enough, the guys on it and the hard work that everyone puts in, like, every single time. It is just an incredible scene to be a part of.
Yeah, well, good old Americanos, you've heard it here yourself. That Welsh scene, view it, watch it, because it'll be on fire. And I'm sure in 2024, good old Kenny Mantra will be leading the charge, my friend. I absolutely 100% believe that. But folks, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions. Now, if you loved what you've heard of Kenny Mantra, the Combat Legacy Champion, I will be including a link to his Instagram in the description of this video. Click on it, follow it, and see the champ's journey into 2024. Well, folks, I would say the whole YouTuber shtick, but we've been around since 2005. I actually am not going to insult your intelligence and think you don't know what I am talking about. Well, folks, remember, stay well and stay humble.